my parents couldn't afford a keyboard, so I had to kind of learn the songs on the pages.
That's
so yeah,
nuts.
I went to the class and the teacher was like, you did a really good job. Like what keyboard did you end up getting? And I'm like, I just practiced it on the pages, and she sort of was looking at me like, what the fuck? I think that's when I realized I'm really like innovative and creative with the way that I learn things. I'm not a like straightforward sort of.
Rolling up. Entertainment.
What's good, beautiful people? Daniel Munch here from Rolling Up Entertainment, a platform to showcase the truth of creatives. It's a pleasure to connect you to individuals with different ideas, insights, and stories to elevate your thought. Today, we have some Kween energy in the house. We have an individual with just simply rolling up massive momentum into 2021. And you may have caught it on the 64 bar freestyle, on a 16 bar Australia, seen it on a Acclaim Magazine, Big Sound 50, or maybe Rolling Stone's top 50 greatest Australian artists of all time. It's my pleasure to welcome the talented and passionate Sophiya to the podcast.
Thank you so much. What an intro.
I was reading it, and I'm reading it, and I'm listening to myself. I'm like, this is nuts.
It's pretty dope.
This is nuts.
I haven't heard it all back like that.
And I didn't put everything in. You've been covered by a number of playlists to magazines. You're really popping. And when I say momentum, it's not, I'm just saying it. It's happening.
Pretty blessed. It's pretty dope.
Pretty blessed. Let's speak on empowerment. That's what I think of when I see you. I think of like empowerment, but what comes to your mind when you hear that word?
I guess for me, it's like I always felt like I was that misfit. I didn't really fit in with the cool people, but I wasn't like nerdy enough to be with the nerds. So like I was kind of in that in between, and I always wanted to be super cool and be with the cool kids. But yeah, it's just like finding out who you are and empowering that community, which is for me, I'm Greek, I'm gay, and I like hip hop and rap music. So it's like, that's fucking empowering enough to put all that together into one, and represent like multiple communities.
And how has that been over your journey within different ones? Is it like, were they all came together, or was it like first the Greek, you wanted to kind of put that on whilst growing up, and then the gay LGBT community? What was it?
Hang on, ask me again.
Yeah, like I guess, was it the Greek community that came first for you growing up, especially early days as a teen?
Oh, yeah. You're right. Actually, yeah. I was super like, the school I went to was like huge Greek community. So that's sort of what I identified with first. And then I didn't really come out like to some of my friends I did, but I didn't really come out until like my later 20s. So that came second. So then I started to go out in the scene and like discover myself and that community. And then hip hop came last.
It came last, and you came with the name Sophiya. So for anyone that doesn't know, what's your real name and what's your artist name, and how that name came about?
So I used to like make these really crappy demos with like my old laptop and like that dinosaur microphone, and you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I always used to save my songs under Sophiya, the way I spell it, Phiya. But my legal name is Fia because I was born in Greece, so they had to directly translate it here. So, but then later my parents started to call me Sophie, and then I was enrolled at schools under Sophie. So I've got like multiple aliases, but now I'm Sophiya with a Y.
Awesome. Let's touch on your inspirations like Missy Elliott, Young, M.A. They're massive inspirations for you. What specifically is it about them that you connect with most?
I don't know. I think it's like they're not like over sexualized, and they also Missy brings the dance element, and I guess for me, it's also the production. I look at the production first. With Young M.A, it's the individuality that really strikes me. And she was kind of like the first gay open artist that could say shit that was like so controversial. I'm like, fuck, I can say it too, because no one's really saying it here. Because I find in like, especially in Australian media, everything's so conservative and like, they kind of beat around the bush a bit. They don't really say it how it is.
In regards to the questions they ask, or is it
everything?
Like...
Everything's super conservative here. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to say Pussy Avalanche on my song because no one else has.
Hey, your music says so. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of languages, because there's definitely a lot of integration of different languages within your music. Where does that stem from? Where do you believe that stems from, that love for different types of languages, even though you may not even speak the language?
Well, my mum was or still is a teacher, and she teaches languages. So I think that's just like genetic DNA. And always really loved literature, and that's something like I did pretty well at in school. And
like reading it, or more so analyzing it?
Analysis, but also more so creative writing and like writing poems and odes and things like that. I think that's where it started from.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like early days, I've heard the story of you playing on the keys.
Yeah.
You played the piano without a piano.
Yeah.
Tell us about that story. Run us through and provide a bit of context if you can.
Yeah. So I wanted to start keyboard lessons, and the first couple of weeks I had to learn some songs, and my parents couldn't afford a keyboard, so I had to kind of learn the songs on the pages.
That's
so yeah,
nuts.
I went to the class, and the teacher was like, "You did a really good job. Like, what keyboard did you end up getting?" And I'm like, "I just practiced it on the pages." And she sort of was looking at me like, "What the fuck?" I think that's when I realized I'm really like innovative and creative with the way that I learn things. I'm not a like straightforward sort of.
It's both a innovative mindset and a zero excuse mindset. Like zero, no bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it anyways, or figure out how to do it.
I've always had that self-taught sort of figure out.
What's a moment that's happened now that you're older? Because it was how you'd have been like 10 years old when it happened.
Probably, yeah.
So what's a moment where it's happened now where you've had to figure out those problems and challenges?
I guess starting and not knowing anybody in terms of music. Like I just started to buy my own production gear and just started producing by myself and just made stuff by myself like completely, which I don't want to do now. But obviously at the time I didn't have the resources, so I just figured it out.
You figure it out like you do anything. We're talking about before we started recording, just the graphic design behind everything, and how you just have to source it and figure it out. Literally have to figure it out. You can't sit
no
there
one
and
tells
wait.
you anything.
No one tells you anything. No. Everything that happens is just through you find it. Just be curious about it.
Yeah.
Now going back to your, I guess, introverted mindset, speak on that growing up and how you were able to give yourself the permission to come out and discover who you are.
Yeah, I was super shy. Like I remember I would have been in grade 1. I remember the teacher was having like a parent-teacher interview with my mum, and they were worried about my speech, and I was like, I used to stutter. I used to be very soft-spoken. So I think that's where one of the reasons where I really wanted to have this dynamic voice and this loud voice, because I never had it. Like I was always spoken over. So yeah, that was one reason. And I guess the other one was just to be able to represent, like we said before, like represent the people that are a minority and aren't heard. So
yeah, I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing the same thing for me. Maybe not on a different scale. So I didn't have my voice heard when I was younger, but now that I have a platform, it's like, I want to scream the mountains, and then have other people scream the mountains. That's the reason why I bring people onto Storytell.
Exactly.
So I guess in terms of allowing yourself to dream also, because you're discovering yourself now, you're giving yourself permission to dream things and have the capability to do so. How's that momentum grown, and when did you start giving yourself permission to dream?
As soon as I sort of felt like, fuck, miracles can happen. Oof. Yeah, as soon as I felt like one sort of miracle where I was like, I didn't even actually manifest or write that down, and that happened on its own. That's when I was like, there's no limit.
What moment was that? It sounds like there was a specific moment.
I think like for me at the time, I went into music super naive. Like I didn't really have a plan. I just sort of did a song, did some artwork and chucked it out and just hoped for the best. And then it started to just gain momentum from one song. Whereas, other people sort of put heaps of tracks out on SoundCloud, go and gig. Like I didn't do any of that.
And we'll definitely dive into that. We'll definitely dive into that. How about even before putting out that track, you're just starting to produce. Who was it that breathed a breath of fire into you to say like, hey, you can do this? who was that? Or was it many people around you?
Yeah, there was a couple of people at the time who, really cemented that for me. And one of them was a guy that I work with who had that sort of engineer mixing and like understanding what gear I should buy. And he was like, you could totally do that. And he didn't actually think I was going to go and do it. And then a couple of months later, I bought everything that he told me to buy. I said, what mic do I need? What interface do I need?
You're like, I've given you the manual, go do it.
So
and
then
you're like, yes, tick, 100%, I'm going to do it.
It's like, oh shit, I didn't think you were going to do it. Like,
because the majority of people don't.
They don't, right?
That's the thing. You can give someone the entire plan. I'm sure if you were an artist, you could write out exactly how to do something for a female coming up if they want to do it. But they're not going to execute. Not everyone's going to execute.
Everyone does need guidance, especially in the beginning. But yeah, there's like you said, there's no manual for like, you can't apply a strategy or like, a manual to someone else, even if it's worked for you.
Because it's someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you've mentioned you were never supposed to be an artist, but a songwriter before, or even a filmmaker. Talk on that even before you started rapping, doing hip hop and singing. Before that,
I always loved music. I always like did it as a joke, and I guess that's like the irony of it, because I didn't take myself seriously. So the music I did was just like parodies and stuff like that. So that's what I did in the early days. And then when I finished high school, I really wanted to be a DJ. Never really pursued that because I went to uni and then I studied film and digital media. So I got into that. And I fell in love with more so the creative aspect of like editing and directing, which then it still didn't feel like the core essence of what I needed to do. And then I came back to music later. I should have done it earlier, but it all made sense.
It all ended up working out. How about your songwriting process throughout? Did you start songwriting early or doing poems early?
I've always written lyrics. I never rapped though. Like I always wrote lyrics and like melodies. Melodies come more naturally to me. Lyrics I used to just write when, as an outlet for sure. But yeah, I've always been writing. That's something I've been doing like for a long time. I didn't really find my rap voice until like recently though.
Ooh. And that's now that you have it. Yeah. That's what I talk about, that momentum. It's just you found something so pure and you're like, I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna run with it because it's working. It's working and it looks like you love it. Coming from Saturday night, you look like you love it on stage.
Yeah, it was lots of fun and just a lot of love and a lot of support, right?
Big time. Definitely massive for the scene. We were talking before we started recording how big it was.
Yeah.
Let's jump into White Ivory for a second. I know you've covered this throughout multiple interviews, but for anyone that doesn't know you and your journey, I feel like it's quite important to touch on. Describe how that's been able to allow you to elevate your platform of Sophiya, the brand.
Yeah. So, that came out and then I got assistance with that, through playlisting. Like everything just sort of came my way and landed on my lap, essentially. It was just like divine. It was really bizarre to me at the time and really overwhelming actually, because I didn't have a manager at the time and I was learning how to like deal with emails and talk to people and I was really overwhelmed. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it sort of took off in the playlisting and just jumped into all these like big playlists that I considered, not achievable. And then
for a long time at least.
Well, I felt like I would have to work. You have this, we're sort of conditioned to believe that you've got to work hard before you can succeed and achieve something. But that's when I learned that it's not hard work. It's just, doing what you love and putting in the time and the energy, and you get whatever you give, you get back.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
So do you feel you put in a ton of hours before that popped then?
Yeah, I actually
did. When
it
did pop, you're like, I did something.
Well, I used to work off this MacBook that couldn't even run Logic. It would crash. So I was trying to mix and master and finish the song and it kept crashing every time I'd use it. And I finally, I don't know how I did it, but I managed to get it done after like a couple of months. And then I'm like, fuck it. I'm not doing any more on it. I'm just going to submit it tonight and just put it out.
What number track was that when you put it out? Like, was it like, how many tracks did you have to build up before that?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I made a lot of crap before that. But that was the first song that I finished. I had a problem with finishing stuff. Okay. But yeah, I don't know how many. Like,
how's that journey now in terms of finishing?
Much better. Better. I just, I've sort of stepped away from the production and I do identify with being more of a songwriter. So like, I do love putting ideas down, but I'm more than happy to give it to a producer and be like, take it and make it like even better.
Go hard.
Yeah.
Go do your thing.
Because collaboration is what makes things really amazing.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So when did you know this was for you to pursue what you're doing right now specifically?
I think it was honestly when the White Ivory, all of that whole journey and everything just sort of started flowing into my life and like all these opportunities started coming my way.
It just affirmed any belief that you're like, oh, this might be a right, like a cool path, but now
Yeah.
you're like, oh, no, this
I
is
was
it.
still
This
like
is-
working full time, and like I still hadn't like quit my job at the time. Like I wasn't 100% sure, but I knew that the pathway was like really magical, and like all the things that were coming my way felt really, really exciting. So I
Yeah.
just kept doing that.
Awesome. Now let's speak about your EP, your latest EP, Overdue. Speak on the name Overdue.
Yeah.
Wh-
So-
why was it overdue?
I was trying to think of a name, and I'm like, well, it is overdue because all the music was like, you know, it was stuff that I made. Some of the songs were right after What Ivory, like from early 2019. All the music, not all of it. Some of it was like 6 months old. Some of it was like 16 months old, and it had just been sitting there like in folders for so long, and I just wanted to hurry up, get it done to a good quality, and get it out and get, you know, cement myself so people could hear what I'm about.
Yeah, it was very dope, very catchy hooks, very interesting structure in itself from not only within the songs, but also the placement of the songs. In terms of writing, I love the way you structure your writing. What's your writing process like?
I tend to creatively, you know, somehow come up with the hooks and the catchier melodies first, which is like the essence of the song. So I get that down first, and then I generally write the verses later. Sometimes the verses take me ages. Like Chief O'Keefe, I wrote the first verse in the first session where I wrote the chorus, and then I wrote the second verse in another session, and then I wrote a third verse, and it was shit, and then I scrapped it and I wrote another one, and then that one was even better. So
I love the verse from Chief O'Keefe. Fuck you mean, I'm the hottest in the scene. Tell me how you feel. If you don't, then you're weak.
Yeah.
Dive into that, like aggressive ass, hard ego. Why you felt you wanted to, I guess, portray that and develop that ego, because it's dope. It's so dope. But I'm interested to hear where the root came from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually quite vulnerable. I'm not always like tough and strong, but I guess in the hip hop scene, like I wanted people to know that I'm like here to stay, and like just speak your truth. Like you know, some people say like, oh, like what you write about isn't true, but a lot of it's just my manifesting and who I want to be. I always talk as if, like as is, you know, what I want from myself, speaking from my higher self.
Especially if you were so introverted and like you didn't have that growing up. Now you have it. You're like, oh, I want to.
And it's so magical and powerful. I'm like, what if I put that in my music? Like maybe I would get these things.
Yeah. And Rosie really came out with it, the first track. What did you mean? Like in terms of its placement within the EP, what was its importance to be at the start?
Well, it was the first song that I made after White Ivory. So also the timing of when I'd written it, but it's also like I kind of pictured it like my live set in a way. Like it's a great opener and closer, but it's a dope opener.
It's definitely a dope opener.
Yeah, and you know, it was also like the first single that was released from. We dropped
before the
EP.
project.
Yeah, so it was kind of like I'm here. It was kind of like that. This is me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because there was a massive build up from White Ivory, and then it's weird because you get that expectation of like, yo, the next song has to pop.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I just want to create. I just want to put something out that I love.
I couldn't continue the way that I had started, which was like trying to do everything myself and with no team. So that year and a half in between was like collaborating, like finding a manager, getting like, you know, getting my whole team together.
Yeah,
and
doing a few shows, testing it out on stage.
That too. Yeah, for sure. Those songs got a good run, like in Sydney as well. Did a couple of shows there.
And then it led you to the top 50 greatest artists of all time, which is stupid.
Not me. I wrote an article so it was for Iggy Azalea, and I wrote it about her.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the top 50, but I'm not saying I'm not going to be.
Yeah. Leading into it. In terms of other achievements, like getting on 64 and 16 bars, what have those meant for you on your journey? Because you're in the studio, you're making beats, you're trying to make it work, and then you get asked to do X.
Well, I used to watch them religiously and be like, I can do this. And I'm like, why aren't I on this? And then the universe is like, well, here you go. And then I'm like, oh shit, I got to do it now. Like, I got to actually write it. Yeah.
Oh damn, I actually got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, the 64 bars originally, like, because it was just before COVID, early last year. I think it was in March. I can't remember. Yeah, I had like originally 2 weeks to like write it and like get it done and then go to Sydney and record it. And luckily I think I got an extra week, but still it was like
What was the environment when you got there?
so awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really lovely crew there. Really welcoming and probably like one of the best things I've ever done. Yeah.
Really? So
Yeah.
big network you were able to develop from that?
Well, I just sort of met the crew there at like the Red Bull Music Studios. I forget who it was. I think like there was like a Lady Gaga album that was recorded there. Like there was just some cool stuff that had been recorded in those studios. But yeah, I get a lot of Red Bull gear, like a lot of Red Bull.
No, it all comes
to
it's a good it's a good connect. It's a good connect. Matches your energy of flying, matches the hair.
True.
So it matches up. Let's speak on a few of your video clips because they're incredible. But you also have a background in film.
Mm-hmm.
So how, whilst you're recording these videos, how do you balance allowing the producers to do their work, the filmmakers to do their work, you wanting your own vision? How does that come into collaboration with a video such as like Chief O'Keefe?
Yeah. Chief O'Keefe, like we had to film it twice. We had to like change some things. But yeah, I usually have like a bit of a vision. And Rosie, I was very involved in, like too involved. Like I personally don't want to be as involved as I have been in other aspects besides my music. Like I kind of want to let other creatives take the reins, but also bring my vision to life.
Yeah. Plant your seeds and then allow them to just water it.
Yeah.
Chuck water on it and grow it.
I'm just too much of a hustler. Like if I want a certain car, like if I want, certain venue, or like I'll make it happen. Which I find, like we said earlier, you just got to do it yourself. If you want it a certain way, you can't really expect someone to do exactly what you want and then get disappointed about it. So you've just got to do exactly what you envision. If things don't go exactly your way, you just go with the flow.
Yeah. Do you feel your side of filmmaking is going to develop further, or you kind of want to leave that to the side and maybe touch on to it again later? Or is it something you want to develop whilst building your Sophiya brand?
That's a good question. I feel like it does take a lot of energy away.
Big time.
Especially in the organizing and the planning side. Like that side takes up more than the creative side. Like the creative side's fun and like putting the briefs together and whatever, but actually organizing and the logistical side is a nightmare. I don't really enjoy that at all.
Yeah.
I'm very right brain.
Yeah.
I can do it. I just don't really enjoy it. So I don't know, probably maybe in the future, if I'm not making music at the time, maybe.
Yeah. Now on Saturday, you mentioned you did a few projects with Jujo. You've done a few projects with Jujo. How awesome is that, I guess, now that you have a producer that you can go to?
Yeah.
I really want to cement that for a lot of artists that are making music. They're doing it all on their own like you were, but now you have some producers you've been able to connect with. How important has that relationship been? It's
really like awesome to find someone that can craft and just like custom make. It's not like a beat pack, like we're sitting in there together and I'm like, this is the reference and we're making it essentially together. Like my idea is his technique, and that's what I've been looking for. But I'm also kind of like, do people just want what they've heard from me already, or like, they're gonna accept anything I put out anyway, but it's gonna be a little bit different to what people have heard.
How's that journey going now? I know you just put out the EP. Now with the receptiveness now, where do you feel like you want to take it?
Yeah.
In regards to sonically,
I think I just want more quality, more production value, like that I can't bring because I don't want to spend my energy there. I just want to perfect my craft.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
Play to your strengths. Awesome. I want to touch on your self-development journey because I feel like something that's very important for you, something I always love to hear. What's some tools along your journey that's allowed you to, zoom up into your higher self?
Trust the process. Go with the flow. Ooh. If something feels like you're not going anywhere, don't go down that path. You're just gonna get more obstacles.
Intuition, yeah. Yeah,
just if you see obstacles, you're in the wrong place. Yeah.
That's very interesting because, and potentially we're thinking a completely different context. Because I think of it, I think I see obstacles and I'm like, okay, the universe has put this here for a reason, so I can become stronger.
It depends. Like, I feel like when you're going down the right path, you have flow and ease, and things happen. Because I want my life to be easy.
Yes.
I don't want it to be hard. Otherwise, I'll just keep attracting hard obstacles and assume that success comes from obstacles. But I don't believe that. I believe
like
that
that.
it comes easy.
That's it. That's awesome.
I want it to land on my lap. I
It's
don't want
easy. It's
yeah.
easy. So is that a mentality you constantly have? Like, it's easy.
It's
Like
always
even,
easy.
Even then, if you know something's going to be hard, like maybe a show you've never done.
Yeah.
Like, is the mentality like...
They're
it's
more
easy?
fears. They're more
Okay.
fears. Like I feel like conquering fears, I wouldn't consider them obstacles. I think they're just, everybody's got fears and traumas and conditioning that like we have to get through in life. But I feel like when there's a blockage, I'm in the wrong place.
That's very interesting. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's very an intuitive feeling too.
Yeah, super intuitive.
Let's talk on self-love. What does that look like for you?
It's just knowing who you are and like stepping into your truth. Being who you are is like, people love that. If you walk into a room and you love yourself and you're true to yourself, everyone's gonna be, magnetized to you.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah, that's the whole reason of why I ask artists to speak their truth, because I believe it just simply helps and it wins. In the end, it wins.
The truth always surfaces.
Yes.
And intention
Yes.
whatever intention you have behind things always surfaces as well. So if you are doing something that's, you've got a vengeful sort of intention behind what you're doing, it's going to backfire.
An ulterior motive, then it's going to
It backfires.
bubble up. So it cut out, and we're talking about mountain water and collecting mountain water. But you said you got a theory, and we had to press record.
Yeah, so like if water's gushing out of a tap and it's coming out really aggressively, then whatever's in that water, you're then consuming that sort of like desperateness and aggression.
Oh.
So if it's coming out nice and smooth, then that's what you want. You don't want it to gush out.
So were you being your aggressive personality, do you just put it on full blast every time you fill up your cup?
I'm less aggressive. I've actually been like taming my anger a lot. That's been like my thing that I've been working on for my whole life.
Or is it like if you want to, you feel like you need to hype yourself up with just boiling water, you're like, nah, it's the, no, go on.
I gotta understand. I'm pretty brash. Like I'm a true Aries. Like I'm super clumsy.
Yeah.
Like and just super, I rush things a lot. That's one of my flaws.
How do you slow down?
I don't.
You
should see
don't?
me on the road. I don't.
So what's something you ground yourself then, or like something has to hit because you're going to run into a wall or something?
True.
Like
yeah,
metaphorically.
you're right.
Or someone that helps you do that.
Yeah, I've just learned the process, like I said before, going with the flow. And if it feels right, if things are moving fast but it still feels right, then let it be. But if it's like moving fast and you can't deal with it, then that's when you slow down.
Yeah. And how have you found your process of patience in regards to creativity?
Yeah, I've just learned what my strengths are, and I don't force it. If it's not coming out, I don't force anything. Like anything that feels forced or desperate or kind of like not meant to be, I don't do.
Do you find a measurement in any way for you? Like any tools, or if you're like, so I know for me, for instance, something that I sometimes come back to, it's like, oh, if I've done it 80%, then it's well.
No, it's just if it fits and it sounds good and it's right, then that's it.
Because it's always hard to hit that 100% because
Yeah.
it literally doesn't exist.
If the song is like going really well and everything's down, like usually how I work, you're right, I do have a bit of a method. I'll do the chorus and a pre-chorus in the first verse, and then the second verse always takes me a bit longer because I've got to see how it all fits together. And that's if I can get all of that done in one session, then I'm pretty happy.
And who's your usual person to go to for feedback? Or is it just yourself? You listen to it countless times until you hate it.
Yeah, no. I don't really care anymore. Like I sort of, if I like it and if I think it's good, then I roll with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. Everyone's got such a because music's artistic and it's so subjective. So one person might like the R&B element, the other person might like the drums, and it's like you can't please every single person.
Big time.
I've got to sleep at night, so as long as I'm sleeping, then we're putting the song out.
We're good.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of you developing your own belief of self-confidence for yourself, I'm sure you want to give it back in some type of way. Is that how do you find you're going to share that if you are?
I think it's people knowing my story, like knowing where I've come from and where I am now and the things I've achieved. And people just want to feel like they can relate to you and feel like they are like you. And, that inspires people. Like they might see me on stage and think, oh, like I like music. Maybe I'll start today. So that sort of thing. That's sort of how I got into it, just getting inspired by other people.
Yeah. Now I have a deep question in regards to your name, Sophiya. In ancient Greek, it means intelligent and wise, which is
the L.
which is beautiful.
Yeah.
If you're open to it, speak onto your connection with higher source, higher power, whatever you label it as, and how that's allowed you to trust your process.
Yeah, like well, a lot of it's come from my sister. She's a forensic healer, so she basically that's just one of the things that she does. She's incredible, but she basically helps people through their childhood traumas and overcoming conditioning.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I've learned everything from her, and
what do you mean by everything before we use this wave off it?
Like just going back in time and realizing, well, why did I feel less than? Why did I limit myself? Like who told me that I couldn't? You know?
Yeah, what were those voices of limiting beliefs? I love that.
Well, it's, it's no one's fault and there's no one to blame, but we are brought into this world with certain, well, not everybody, but my experience, there were limitations on me that I could only be this or that.
Within this box,
within this box. So it's kind of like, who said that? Who? I want to know who, because doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And for someone that's at home that wants to dive into that because they know they have those within themselves, what's something that they can do?
Just know that there's no limitations in life. You can really, if you apply yourself and if you love something enough, you can master anything. Like we're all masters.
In regards to something practical they could do potentially day to day, whether that's meditation or like that's how about something practical they could try?
Yeah, if you're feeling like really blocked and if you're wondering why things aren't happening and aligning, like meditation's great. I find for me personally, I get a lot of messages like when I meditate, something will pop in my head like buy that microphone or I don't know, just things that I've kept in the back of my mind, and I don't even last like 10 minutes sometimes. I get too many messages. So I just write everything down.
Write it all down.
Yeah. Practical stuff.
I definitely relate to that. Yeah.
Get yourself some Palo Santo.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful. It clears energy. And I've got this, if you type on YouTube, I think I sent it to you. It's a curse removal. If you type in curse removal mantra, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's essentially a different type of yoga. It's a mantra type of yoga where it's chanting. Very, very different. But if you're open to trying it, it's always something different. In regards to you, I wanted to go back to your sister. You said she was doing the forensic healing. What's something that you've learned in other areas that she's potentially taught you on? 'Cause that sounds pretty interesting. No, that's not something that an occupation or someone just says, "Oh yeah, I do forensic healing." You're like, "Oh, what?"
I mean, I probably need to do more. Like I've learned from her, but I haven't really done any sessions. That's the next thing I need to do is like actually dive into it deep. But doing healings and figuring out why we're wired a certain way and where it comes from, and actually removing it. Yeah. And also being able to, sometimes we forget that we're here on this physical plane, but also we're here spiritually. And sometimes like you don't have to go up to that person and be like, hey bro, like we're all cool. Like you can do that energetically. You don't have to physically go up to somebody.
Okay.
You can do that in your own sort of spiritual space.
Oh, so essentially like give them forgiveness without having to do it in person. That's very interesting. I've never heard that take.
It all sort of, what's the word? It's like telecommunication. Like if you're putting out that energy, they'll get it.
That's very interesting. I'm really processing that at the moment and how I could apply it. That sounds very interesting.
Because it's a lot of energy to, then open yourself up and maybe, I always say don't enter the energy. Don't open yourself up and allow someone to dump on you and unload.
Yes. Oh yes, I can understand that.
Can
like
just
set those boundaries in a sense.
Yeah. So you never know what someone's going to dump on you and where they're at spiritually and all of that. So sometimes it's just better to do it energetically, and then you just feel at peace. You're like, I've already expressed that.
Awesome. How about on stage? Is that like a spiritual experience for you? How do you feel in that moment? Like, please dive into it.
Yeah. So I kind of like to, I guess, keep to myself, like not talk to too many people, not get too, not spread myself too thin, like energetically. And Kyra was burning some Palo before we started and had our crystals out. Had some like, what did we have? Like,
is that your pre-game?
Yeah, we had some pyrite, which is like a lot of abundance.
Shout out to Kyra, she's in the background.
Yo, what up, Kyra Cuvée? We had some crystals set up, and I think in the next one, like we're gonna get some tourmaline and line it up. And my sister does like crystal gridding, so I think we're gonna start gridding up the stage as well.
Gridding up, so like hit that like,
It's like a
4
portal.
points or something.
You
Yeah.
create a portal. Yeah.
Yo, imagine that. You should do one in the, like if you ever have a mosh, it's like create one around the mosh, straight up.
It just turns to this.
Yeah, and then I don't know, someone has a psychedelic trip and they just gone somewhere else. I don't know.
Well, when you feel like like what we were saying before, you've got no feeling of time and space. That's kind of like entering a portal because you're not really here anymore.
Yeah, literally, literally. And in regards to receiving people's energy on stage, you said you have to usually set those boundaries. But what happens when you're on stage?
Yeah, I still, that's something I'm still learning. Like the stage and the performance side of things is still new to me, and that's something I'm learning and trying to tweak and get down pat. So I need to learn how much to receive, because then if I'm receiving too much, then I'm giving out too much, and then I'm exhausted. So all of that just comes with practice. You've just got to do it to figure it out.
Yeah. What are some things outside of music that have helped ground you from the constant go like you were mentioning before?
Definitely like this spirituality, 100%. Like, but also
when you say spirituality, what do you mean by that for you? This is always a very interesting
it's not
question.
religious.
Very super relative.
I don't want to go down this path too much because we can talk forever.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I said it's very very relative and abstract.
I just believe we're all healers, and like we're all here to help one another, and we all have the gift of healing, and having miracles happen in our lives. So that sort of makes me, I guess that doesn't ground me, that puts me in the sky.
I love that. I love how you say that though, and how like because you've experienced it for yourself, you're like, yo, it's available.
Yeah, it's available. Like, go and get it now.
Yeah, it's like sounds like an advertisement.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into 2021. What are you most excited for this year?
I think one thing that I definitely learned about last year was being consistent pays off. But also, I went into my releases with a bit of stress and not setting dates. Like I think it's very important to not set exact dates, like have a rough idea of what you're going to do, but just go with the flow. Because then you sort of like, you get disappointed when things don't, you have this date in your mind and you're like, I want it on that date. Yeah. But you've just got to, I think I'm just going to get a body of work together, continue to work with Jujo. I was meant to go to Sydney, but the border closed. So I'm just taking that as a sign. Yeah. Just keep it local and probably get another EP together. That would be the goal. Yeah.
What type of is it purely quality you want to hit with this next one?
Yeah, I think like show more of my technique. Still the catchy choruses that like people know.
Awesome hooks that are just instantly.
Infectious.
You can remember it. I think I was hearing you live. Just you played a new song and catch it instantly. Yeah. And I think that's very powerful. Not many people can do that.
That's true.
Not many people do that. So shout out to yourself.
Yeah.
What type of collabs can we see on the way outside of Juju? Shout out to Juju, the man.
Well, I don't like to talk about things until they're finished.
Yeah.
Because, I just don't anymore. Yeah. That's something I've learned, and I'd pass that on to anybody. But the song's done now. So yeah, I've got a song with Jordan Dennis that we performed. It's called Run It. Yeah. Jordan and I worked together 2019. But I think that was the first time we worked together, but it only felt natural, making a song with Jujo to get Jordan on there.
Especially Jordan was around. He's probably coming to the studio in and out.
True. So, but, also I really value him and I really appreciate his technique and his style as well. We're very complimenting. So
yeah, I am definitely keen to hear the track. I'm sure everyone else is very keen.
Yeah.
It's
dope.
Two people that is fired. Just, you guys
so
both bring in so much. You both bring in so much. I'm trying to comprehend it because what I'm thinking is Sophiya brings in the hooks, the energy, the aggressiveness. Jordan brings in the lyricism, and then Juju is bringing in the sound, and then putting all that together. It's
union.
Just completely blowing. Anything else in 2021?
There is another song. Again, expect an international collaboration.
Oh.
Let's just wait till it comes out, But I don't know. I'm not setting any limits. I'm kind of like, fuck it. Let's go big. Let's find some good artists, some decent features. Obviously I want to work locally, but also I just want to work with talent. That's what's most important to me. And the energy of the artist, I can feel it. Like even if we hadn't met, just like through Instagram, you can feel that.
Do you feel like you'd see yourself traveling overseas or even living overseas?
I love Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I love Australia. I think like
Here comes the butt.
Yeah. I mean, I would go anywhere. Like I love adventure, and I'm not saying no to anything, but I feel like my ideal life is here. We'll see once I conquer Australia. Like let's get the Australian fan club down pat first, and then
let's get it popping and move from there. Definitely.
I think so.
Going back to Greece would be nice.
That's one of my goals, to get some features with some Greek artists.
Really?
I've gotten to know like the labels and the artists that I want to work with. It's just I just got to get myself, like my profile sort of built up, and then we'll just.
Have you gone to Greece like since you were younger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like 3 or 4 times actually.
Are there any venues there that are pretty dope? I have no clue what the music scene's like up there.
Hip hop has only sort of popped off there in the past like 1 to 2 years, which I haven't been. The last time I went was like 3 or 4 years ago. But like Greek music traditionally is like, it's called bouzoukia, so like it's all live music, more so singing. And,
instrumentals too, hey?
Nah. Everyone plays live instruments.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I said instrumentals. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, instruments.
Yeah, live bands, like live artists. Super dope. I think I want to incorporate some stuff from that culture into my live shows as well, into my like maybe my longer sets. There's some cool.
Like getting like a band.
That too, but also like the part of the culture. Like we have, Greeks break plates, maybe some Sophiya plates we can break.
Oh,
but I don't know what the venue
is.
Just something like, I want to integrate the Greek culture into.
I think that is very possible.
Yeah. I don't know how
I'm just visualizing
the mess though.
Some pink plates being broken on stage and like just throw them in the mosh. I don't know how it's that'd be kind of dangerous.
Logistically, haven't thought it through. But
it sounds cool. Yeah. In terms of Sophiya growing to the extent that it is growing now, and you're seeing it moving. What's this? What is this? What's the ceiling? No ceiling. Obviously, there is never a ceiling.
Yeah.
But what is something up there that you want for yourself?
Yeah.
For your family, for your legacy?
I think I just want to, something I've always known my whole life is I know I'm going to have my own record label. Like it's something I've always wanted from a younger age. That's something I really want to do. Once I've got the money to do it, like I just want to take artists under my wing, and do that. I also want to get involved in fashion. That's something I've always seen. Like I don't want to just drop like basic merch. Like I want to collaborate with artists and put out some really like creative stuff. Like I had one of Billie Eilish's one of the artists that's collaborated with her like reached out to me, and I'm like, fuck.
Say less.
Yeah, it's like, who else can we get? Like, if he's already like finding me, like, the sky's the limit. Like, let's do it. Like, I just want some crazy clothes. I'm pretty much like an entrepreneur. Like, I want to cover everything and just build the brand, and then let's just.
How much does fashion mean to you at the moment? Because you were so very, very introverted, and I assume that you didn't wear anything out there, but now you wear some fly ass stuff, and it's 2022.
I used
2021.
to make a lot of my clothes once I started to discover myself, but I wasn't really allowed to be eccentric. It was kind of like taboo. I remember like I shaved half of my head when I was younger, and my parents freaked out. Tattoos, piercings, like anything to rebel. Like, but then I started to make my own clothes and like print stuff and just cut and make holes and tie dye and everything. So I want to like have custom clothing, because my identity is like definitely shown through my creative expression, and that's definitely through clothes as well.
And what type of artists within the record label would you want to put in? And I'm keen to see you looking back at this clip in X amount of years from now and saying, yeah, damn, maybe it is those artists, or maybe it's completely different. But what type of artists do you see yourself helping, growing?
Yeah, just like anyone that's got talent. Like I just have like an eye for talent. Like I feel like a bit of an A&R sometimes. Like I can just see it and I'm like, you need to do this. Or whenever I meet somebody, I kind of figure out what they're good at right away. So I kind of just.
You have an eye for.
Just for people's truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
might not see it yet, but I feel like I've definitely got an eye for it.
Yeah, when we're talking offset, just the eye connection, the power of content, just like that, how crazy that has
100%.
been. What have been some of your experiences with eye contact? It may provide a bit of context, but
Yeah, I feel like, I tend to go a bit deep when I look at people, and they feel quite obligated to tell the truth and also tell me like who they are and what they're doing and sort of prove themselves in a way. That's something that I tend to bring out of people.
Like first interaction.
Well, yeah, if I haven't bumped into someone, they might just, blurt it out and be like,
It's definitely,
I'm working
I can
on
see
this.
it. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh, if you guys could meet with Sophia in person, I feel it. Literally looking at you. It's just
Do you want
like,
to put them back on?
no, leave them on. It's a lens to help ease the power.
Yeah.
It's just so
Probably,
much.
yeah.
I'm being straight up. All right. You can find Sophiya at Sophiya Music, SOPHIYA Music. You can find us at Rolling Up Entertainment everywhere. Now, before we finish off the segment called the Final 4 Questions.
Okay.
You can answer in one sentence or less. Question 1.
Hit
A
me.
female artist that will explode in 2021 is
Sophiya.
the most powerful person in my life other than myself is
I'll have to say my sister. Super influential.
what is the ultimate venue that you would perform at?
Somewhere in Greece, like
That's
Mykonos or something.
Oh yeah, that's what I was asking before.
Something custom with like a pool and on the beach with a pool. Yeah, something crazy in Greece. That'd be my ultimate.
Oh, I'm just visualizing that at the moment. That
Yeah.
sounds nuts. If I could move to one country in the world, it would be Greece.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. I want to touch on, before we finish, it brought about a thing in terms of visualization. How has that process been for you?
Like I said earlier,
Your journey, like
yeah, I'm definitely a visual artist. Like I'm not a painter or anything like that, but I see things through vision, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration and ideas because I'm a big dreamer.
What do you mean by that for someone that doesn't see the world that way? What do you mean by that? The best way you could try to describe it.
That's the way I dream, and that's the way that I learn. Like everybody learns differently. I learn visually really well because I just remember the way things look, the way that the colors are, or the way that everything sort of aesthetically looks together. But also, like I can see when things are going to happen. I can see the future. I can see like myself bumping into people before it happens.
That's nice. We'll end it on a high. If you found this podcast entertaining, got any type of value, learned something, share it with a friend. It helps grow the platform. Check out Sophiya's stuff. It's going to blow. It's blowing at the moment. It's going absolutely nuts. When people asking what you're listening to, drop the name Rolling Up Entertainment. Check out Sophiya. I appreciate you all. Peace and love. Let's roll up.